what you do with this film is really interesting in terms of the whole series, because I think it makes it a lot more like Bond in terms of how you create this adventure, this different story, different tone to what we've seen before, and put Lisbeth in it and make it very personal, but enable it to basically be something where Lisbeth Salander can run forever in all different permutations. Was that your intention, and how did you go about that specifically?
Well, yes, I guess it was the intention. Also, it happens in the books. The books evolved in such way. Like they start with this very small, this family mystery, and then they went a bit crazier. And that's it. I love that, and I love that I got the chance to kind of jump ahead a little bit and go to a world where Lisbeth has become an icon. It's like a little bit of a local celebrity almost in her town, and no one knows who she is, but everybody knows what she does. So it was, yeah, and definitely the Bond aspect, I think, just because I'm a fan of those movies, I think it's when stories are very personal for the main character, but the stakes are bigger than life, I think it just takes you there, right, to that character-driven action thriller, right?
And you mentioned the books, but this obviously deviates in several key places from the book on which it's based. And without going into spoilers and stuff, what was the motivation to make those changes and adjust how characters were presented?
Well, we started with a draft from Stephen Knight, a British brilliant writer, and he kind of did the selection of what was the aspects of the books that we're going to take and what were the aspects we're going to dismiss. My job in it, and Jay Basu, which we wrote together, our draft for the movie, was to make it more personal, to really not just tell a more personal story, but talk about the themes that I care about. So my movies are always about secrets and shame, and always about guilt and family. And I think that's one of the most powerful subjects you can talk about, I think.
And one specific thing I do want to ask about is Lisbeth and her relationship with her father, because in the books, famously, there's fire involved and there's burning and stuff, which your presentation of the event seems to avoid. Is that a conscious retcon, or is that something you just didn't want to allude to in this movie?
Well, it does happen. It's supposed to happen after that, right?
Okay.
It's supposed to happen after that. I mean, the way we're totally in canon in this movie. Everything that happens here, it doesn't override anything that has happened before, or doesn't override anything that has happened in the books the way you know it. We did add to things, and we were able to approach certain ideas from a different point of view, but still the same things. I mean, the father will be burned after a few days after that scene, actually, where the movie opens.
Okay, and speaking of honouring what's come before, you do keep certain stylistic elements that featured in David Fincher's film, the opening titles, and just the way that it's lit and shot and the way that you present Sweden, really. I was wondering, what did you choose to take explicitly and what did you choose not to take?
Yeah, well, a lot of things is you don't really take anything. I mean, there's not many ways you can do certain things. There's not many ways you can light Stockholm or present some of those places. So you end up feeling like common ground. I think, yes, with the title sequence, I think there was something fantastic about that original title sequence. But the pace is different in ours. It just tells you right away this is a bit more personal, a bit more romantic even. But it was really an intention of, it's not one of the things that you need to have seen the other movie to kind of enjoy this one. So whatever connection there is more like my personal enjoyment of connecting them in some level. But the reality is that it was made in a way that if you haven't seen anything else, you can definitely enjoy the movie, and everything you know about the world is that is relevant for the story told in the first 15 minutes, right? So that was why this book allowed for that. If we would have made the second and third book, you would have necessarily have to see in the first movie to understand.